gangsters who took Ray's gun didn't realize who he was until he killed them one by one. Ray is out on a casual debt collection mission with his crew. You know, just another day at the office. Ray, being the professional he is, didn't have to throw a punch. Just some good old psychological warfare.
I'm gonna cure Billy.
Suddenly, $100,000 appears out of nowhere. Ray was standing in front of the club as a bodyguard when Gary stopped by and asked him to come over for a quick chat.
And I told her it was yours.
Turns out, Gary's wife found a DVD hidden in the kitchen cabinet, and Gary wanted Ray to pretend it was his. After the chaos, Ray casually walks off and tosses the cursed DVD in the trash. Ray takes his little princess out for some ice cream. While they're happily enjoying it, two guys accidentally bump into Ray's daughter.
And what's your language too, eh?
But instead of backing off, the two start talking back and acting like tough guys. Ray gently puts his daughter in the car, tells her to stay put, and walks back to the corner where the two are still hanging out.
Right, old man?
The next day, Gary had an accident, and Ray immediately rushed to the hospital. There, he met Gary, Gary's wife, and then Vasily. Ray and the heavyset guy stepped out of the room and started talking about a gun deal, with Vasily lying, claiming he had saved Gary from two robbers.
How's your hands? Your hands are up, man?
That night, Ray went to confront Vasily. Without hesitation, Ray kicked him and locked his arm, forcing him to talk. Turns out, Vasily had betrayed his own brother-in-law to the two robbers because of his debts. As a result, Gary's brother-in-law was beaten and left injured. Ray doesn't hold back when it comes to finding the truth. The first guy, then the second guy is chilling at the bar, thinking he's safe. Ray catches him off guard in the bathroom, and after all that, Ray casually returns to the hospital and, in a rare moment of softness, brings Gary a stuffed koala bear.
What'd you do to him? Bit of this.
After recovering from his injuries, Gary wanted to thank Ray with a thoughtful gift. He handed Ray a tactical surprise. To make things even more festive, Gary set up 2 melons on a wooden stake. Just when Ray thinks it's over, Boss Freddy shows up with bad news. The guys Ray beat up, they work for Davros, a serious gang boss. Freddy suggests Ray meet with Davros to smooth things over, but Ray fears no one. He walks into the meeting cool and composed, offering a handshake first. But Davros isn't impressed. The tension? Thicker than Vasily's lies. Ray gets up to leave, but Davros doesn't look satisfied with Ray's attitude. That night, while casually stepping outside for some air, Ray's instincts kicked in. Something felt off. He grabbed his binoculars. Looks like Davros's crew wasn't done yet. Ray didn't panic, but he wasn't running. Once he reached a quiet area outside the city, Ray pulled out his gear, crouched down, and waited. When the crew finally showed up, but another car rolled in. Gary plans to pull off a risky job with Ray and Nick, targeting a shady foreign operator. The plan is tight. Nick suddenly needs a bathroom break. Once inside, he pulls out his phone to make a call, but nervously drops it straight into the toilet. Instant failure.
Hey, I might get some smokes. You guys want anything?
But really, he sprints to the nearest phone booth. Just as he picks up the phone, Ray is standing right beside him. Nick freezes. Ray doesn't take action right away. Instead, he and Gary hop in the car. The silence in the car made Nick extremely nervous. Finally, they arrive in a remote area. Nick steps out, heart racing. But, surprise, Ray lets him go.
And then we got the cops up.
Ray was about to get in his car, minding his own business, when suddenly, 2 armed guys jumped out and shoved him into their vehicle. These weren't amateurs. They knew Ray was a tough customer. So they played it smart, tied his hands, thought they had things under control. Ray revealed that he had $162,000 to exchange for his freedom. It was in an abandoned house not far from there. The two exchanged glances. Sounded like a bonus opportunity. Why rush back to the boss when they could cash in first?
So you want to go and get the money?
So off they went to an old abandoned house where Ray conveniently forgot the password. The goons left to grab one, locking Ray in the trunk for safekeeping. Dave, the more cautious one, told his partner to stay put. But the other guy, he was craving a smoke. He reached into his pocket. Time for a quick break. As he stepped out for a puff, 2 unexpected visitors walked by. Random car thieves out for a joyride. One kept watch while the other used a tool to open the door. Suddenly, they discovered the car window was open. One hopped in and started the engine. Ray was still in the trunk and had no idea what was going on outside. Meanwhile, the 2 car thieves, still thrilled with their lucky find, rolled up to a rundown garage to flip the stolen ride. The garage owner gave it a quick look and said, "Leave it here. Come back later for your cut." "Sweet," they nodded, grabbing the safe and heading out like they just hit the jackpot. Then, a noise from the trunk. The garage owner paused. He slowly opened it.
Who the f*** are you?
The garage owner froze. Then, in total panic, yanked the garage door up and ditched the car in a quiet, empty spot, trying to avoid any drama. Ray climbed out, untied himself, and casually drove back into the city. Feeling a bit hungry after his chaotic morning, he stopped by a small food shop. Ray, however, instantly recognized his safe and phone. He followed them. The two eventually reached the garage where they'd dropped the car earlier. The garage owner looked furious.
Something you want to tell me?
Dude, chill out.
Tell me about the bloke in the boot.
Well, we didn't know, man. Hey, swear to God.
What's that?
That was in the car.
As the three of them got busy trying to open it, Ray stepped in and quickly handled the situation. As Ray left the garage and got into his car, he was caught off guard. Dave was already inside, holding a weapon. He demanded the safe and forced Ray to drive to a remote location. Waiting there was Davros, clearly impatient. He questioned Dave about the delay, but before Dave could explain, Davros cut him off and told Ray to start digging.
Fucking money.
But before Dave could walk away, Bobby, the reckless one, carelessly mentioned Ray's safe. Davros turned sharply. He demanded the safe, making it clear that not handing it over wasn't an option. Bobby pulled it from the car and used a tool to crack it open while everyone gathered around, eager to see what was inside.
Good?
Yeah.
But Dave survived, and just then his phone rang. His wife was in labor. Ray heard it, grabbed Davros's keys, and tossed them to Dave.
Possibly needing a Mercedes, mate, so...
Then Ray handed him a weapon, not as a threat, but a gesture of trust. It wasn't just mercy. Ray had a plan. Dave might come in handy later. While Ray was watching a sports match with Gary, the phone rang. Freddie had a new mission for him. This time, he was sent to a house where two guys in bad shape were waiting. They let Ray in and led him to the back, where they nervously showed him something hidden in the trunk of a car. But here's the twist. Freddie wanted Ray to take care of the thing in the trunk and the two guys for 70 grand. Once the deal was made, Ray calmly loaded the cargo into the vehicle and hit the road. At night, he reached a quiet forest. Everything seemed calm until one of the passengers started a fire inside the car.
Okay. What the fuck?
The guy in the back flew out. The other was seriously hurt. Ray stepped out, noticed fuel leaking, and with a sigh lit the scene behind him, then walked away without looking back. After completing the mission, Ray met Freddie the next day to collect his payment. Freddie had another opportunity lined up. He wanted Ray to meet a wealthy new businessman. The meeting took place in a quiet parking lot. There, Ray met Alex and Kev. Turns out these two worked for Vinny, someone Ray knew well. They were planning to make a move involving their boss. Ray didn't mind. He followed the money.
How much?
$250.
Done.
100 up front. You cancel a job, I keep the cash, okay?
Of course.
One day, while working at the bar, Freddie and Ray meet a new customer, Kim, a father who lost his daughter in 1995. Stricken with grief and facing a terminal illness, Kim seeks closure. He asks Ray to find his daughter's remains. Ray investigates and identifies Dennis as a person of interest. Visiting Dennis's home, Ray questions him about Kim's daughter. Dennis initially denies any knowledge. Determined, Ray persuades Dennis to reveal the truth. It turns out that Dennis abducted Kim's daughter, committed a horrific crime, and hid her body in an abandoned train tunnel. Dennis confesses and leads Ray to an old train tunnel. There, they uncover a suitcase containing personal items belonging to Kim's daughter. The next morning, Kim arrives at the tunnel. Overwhelmed with emotion, Kim retrieves the keepsakes. After a moment of reflection, he enters the tunnel to see Dennis one last time. Dennis says he's sorry, but it's too late. Ray knows what to do. He steps into the tunnel with the light in hand. While Ray was trying to sleep in a little longer, the phone suddenly rang. Ray didn't expect it to be Vinny calling. His old friend Vinny wanted to invite Ray for a few drinks, but Ray refused, saying he was busy and suggested meeting next week instead. Vinny was also busy with a farm in Dorigo, a piece of useful information that woke Ray up. He'd have to wait until that day. While talking to Freddie, another client came looking for him. This guy's name was Simon. He wanted to hire someone to handle the situation with his lover because she was asking him for $2 million. Otherwise, she would tell Simon's wife. This not only threatened his family, but also his business reputation. After a few days of following her, Ray found out where she was and where she usually went. He casually picked her up in a parking lot. It turned out Simon had gotten his lover, Fiona, pregnant.
I'm not trying to blackmail him. I asked him for $1,000 a month till she turns 18.
Ray felt silly and left. That night, Ray was waiting at Simon's pool. When the guy walked in, Ray greeted him. Ray said the deal between Fiona and Simon was $250,000, and Simon should pay it because Ray knew she was pregnant. Back at work every night, while standing in front of the club, Kev stopped by, asking Ray why the Vinny job was taking so long, because Alex was getting impatient. But in truth, Ray hadn't had a chance to approach Vinny yet, since there were always too many bodyguards around him. The day finally came. That night, Ray and Gary planned their supplies and set off for the farm that Vinny had mentioned earlier. Ray dressed as a sniper and went in alone, setting up a strategic position before Vinny arrived the next morning. While waiting, soon, Vinny's Audi arrived. Through the scope, Ray saw Vinny and his parents. Even more surprising, he also saw Dave, the man he had spared during the Davros case. But Ray waited until nightfall and still didn't get the chance to take action. The next morning, Ray was still waiting for the right moment. When Vinny walked out with his dog and seemed to be heading toward the forest where Ray was hiding, Ray pulled out his pistol and approached. But unfortunately, he triggered a nearby motion sensor.
Run! Run!
Gary, hearing the gunshots, quickly got in the car and picked Ray up nearby. The two sped off toward the car's swap point, planning to use the spare vehicle to block the road and make their escape. A few days later, Ray finally had the chance to pursue his long-standing goal. When Vinny stepped out of a store after buying a lung supplement, he didn't realize it was all part of Ray's setup. As Vinny walked over to greet him, Gary suddenly opened the car door. Ray moved Vinny inside, and Gary quickly restrained him and drove off.
Alex?
Eventually, the three of them arrived at their destination. Ray let Vinny out of the car and walked him to the side of a river. The next morning, while Ray was still sleeping, Freddie called him. The boss claimed that Ray's friend had broken into Freddie's vault, stolen everything, and even injured him. Ray checked the CCTV footage and discovered it was...
It's Dirk.
Dirk had later been fired for injuring another employee. Freddie warned him that he'd find someone else to deal with Dirk. Ray knew what that meant, so he took matters into his own hands. He went to see Dirk and offered to give him a ride somewhere near the beach. Ray and Dirk were both former soldiers, haunted by the past, the kind of trauma that's hard to shake. Ray had been through therapy several times, but nothing had worked. Dirk, meanwhile, was constantly drunk and never truly sober. Ray told him he knew about the Freddie situation and warned him to leave town and never come back. Ray said he'd take him anywhere, just pick a place. But what Ray didn't expect? To ease the burden of his friend's passing, Ray went to Dirk's wife's house to talk, and then took Dirk's daughter, Maddie, and Brittany to go shopping. But both of them quickly got bored. Suddenly, the two girls started playing with a bicycle nearby. When Ray finished choosing an item and came back to find them, Maddie was no longer there. Only the bicycle was left in the middle of the aisle. Ray searched everywhere but couldn't find her. The sales staff took him to check the CCTV. The unexpected happened. A man in a white cap had taken Maddie away. Ray took a few pictures and left immediately. He called Freddie for help finding the man from the CCTV footage and also sent the picture to Gary, asking him to find the guy as soon as possible. Gary found someone who knew a man named Pidgey, who might have information about the man in the white cap. Gary finally tracked down Pidgey and went inside. Pidgey revealed that he knew the man and mentioned the toys in his basement, which was usually locked. Pidge remembered the man asking if he wanted to buy a toy. Meanwhile, Ray then went to Freddie's house and asked him to take him to Davros's brother-in-law.
Oh, love.
Hey, Dad. Dad.
Where's the kid? What?
As they say, when you're mad, you're confused. Back in the car, he suddenly received a message from Gary. He said he found something and needed to meet Ray. In fact, Gary had been taken by Pidgey to the Cap Guy's house. Gary pretended to buy weed and guns from Tim. Surprisingly, Gary discovered a new lock to the basement.
When you go down here, kitchen sinks, get on the ground.
What? What's your problem?
Where's the key to the door with the lock on it?
Behind the metal cabinet disguised as a door, Gary quickly found Maddie. Gary took her to the car and then came back, forcing the whole gang into that secret room. Gary texted Ray the location. He immediately arrived, and in the bogeyman's hand was a shovel, his expression cold and determined as he entered the secret room. That night, Freddie's boss kicked Ray out because of his aggressive behavior at Freddie's family's house. Ray apologized and went home. With nothing to do, he took his dog for a walk in the forest. Suddenly, his dog stopped, sensing something was wrong. It turned out Alex had sent his men to take Ray down. The The two engaged in a tense exchange of fire, leaving bullet marks scattered across the trees. Eventually, they dropped their weapons and fought hand to hand. The brawl was rough. Kev used his size to overpower Ray, trying to pin him down. Ray pushed back with all his strength and turned the tide with a sudden counterstrike that knocked Kev off balance. As Ray took a moment to catch his breath, he noticed that his dog had been caught in the crossfire. He turned back toward Kev and struck with a shovel, ending the fight decisively. Ray gently placed his dog in the car, bandaged a cut above his eye, and left. Ray was now on his way to confront Alex, a meeting set up with Dave in advance. Pretending to share who was responsible for Vinny's fate, Dave signaled Ray at the right moment. Alex offered to exchange his life for a hidden bag containing $650,000. Ray agreed to a split and took his share. The three of them discussed who would stay with the car and who would dig. Once the plan was settled, they drove off toward the location together. When they arrived, Ray asked Alex to get out of the car and stand still there, not moving. Meanwhile, he and Dave went to dig for the bag of money not far away. Ray dug while Dave kept an eye on Alex. When he hit the bag of money, Alex suddenly ran off, dragging the chain on his leg. Dave reacted quickly and called out, but then dropped low to the ground after hearing what sounded like gunfire from deeper in the forest. Ray chased after them. Both of them entered a nearby forest. While searching, they suddenly heard someone's voice. It turned out to be Gary, Ray's backup tactic. Gary had gotten caught on a fence while running. Ray carefully removed the wire and got him free. Ray went on ahead. All three finally got the bag of money and were very happy. With the money from Alex's case, Ray and Gary went together to buy some toys and resell them for profit. However, they didn't know the people they were dealing with were part of an organized group of robbers. When Gary brought out the bag of toys and showed them, the robbers who had set a trap rushed in and forced everyone to the ground. Ray and Gary were attacked, while the fake dealer pretended to be injured using a bag of fake blood. They even staged a scene pretending to help Ray and Gary into the car while stealing their toys and money. But they couldn't fool the bogeyman Ray. Just one look and Ray knew the dealer was the mastermind. There was no way someone badly hurt could pull them into a car. The next morning, Ray confronted the man, demanding to know who he was working with.
Mate, I had nothing to do with the ripoff.
Ray had to apply a little more pressure, and eventually the man confessed. He agreed to return the stolen gun, but refused to reveal his accomplice's name. Ray allowed him to call his crew, arranging a meeting at a remote farm. They had 4 hours to bring all the stolen guns and $30 grand to Ray in exchange for their friend's release. At the appointed time, the gang arrived. Ray demanded the gun and the money first. He found the gun, but no cash. When Ray questioned them, the ringleader asked him to free their friend first. As they left, the ringleader mockingly raised his hand in a rude gesture.
Come on, mate, come on.
Despite wearing body armor, he couldn't withstand Ray's relentless shots. He tried to apologize for what had happened, but Ray stayed silent.
What's your name?
Brian.
Then, Ray took the bag of money and handed it to Gary to split with Dave, choosing not to keep any for himself.
You okay, Ray?
The next day, Ray took Brittany to school. On the way home, the bogeyman Ray had an encounter with 2 random guys who crossed the street carelessly, knocking over Ray's side mirror. Ray angrily got out of the car to confront them about crossing without a crosswalk sign. When one of them tried to argue, Ray lost his temper and struck him. Unfortunately, the police witnessed the scene. Ray was reported and sent to prison. That day, he was assigned to share a room with another newcomer. The new roommate seemed shy, while the bogeyman Ray looked very familiar with the place. The next day, after they left the bathroom together, Ray bumped into a familiar face. They exchanged greetings, introduced Adam, Ray's cellmate,
See you, champ.
and went their separate ways. However, Adam accidentally said something inappropriate, a wrong word that shouldn't be used in prison.
Champ mate's cocksucker.
Adam's troubles escalated when he went to the restroom at the end of the prison hallway. The tattooed man, still upset from before, followed and attacked him. Another prisoner accidentally passed by and noticed something strange, but decided to walk away. Ray, standing standing nearby became suspicious, walked closer, and found Adam collapsed on the floor. Meanwhile, Freddie, who hadn't seen Ray for a long time, visited the prison. The club owner helped Ray secure a light-duty job inside the facility with a surprisingly high wage. The prisoner Freddie wanted Ray to approach was Johnny Tran, a slightly balding man. After completing the task, Ray would earn 10 grand. The next day, in the break area, Ray prepared a small trick involving jam and hot water. When Johnny had just finished playing ping pong and returned to his cell, Ray followed. Adam, witnessing it, was left completely stunned, unable to understand what was happening. Outside the prison, Dave was sent to confront Matty, the guy who had earlier knocked off Ray's mirror, causing all the trouble. Dave found him at a car repair garage, acted like he knew everything, and took Matty to a remote forest. Dave brought him to a shallow hole that had been dug earlier. Without saying much, Dave started shoveling dirt near it, scaring Matty badly.
You gonna drop the charges?
Yes,
Just so you know, if you don't, you see this face?
Dave then left the key to the handcuffs and went home. Ray was eventually released from prison and collected his personal belongings.
Discharge for Shoesmith. There you go, Ray. See you next time.
Hope not.
The next morning, Ray met a new big client introduced by Freddie named Raphael. It turned out that Raphael had asked Freddie to pass on a message to Ray to handle a matter involving Johnny Tran while he was still in prison.
Cup, you throw some jam in it, boiling water, mix it up, boom.
So it sticks to the skin.
Sticks.
Raphael sent Ray 10 grand. He also suggested Ray join his team, but Ray preferred to work independently, even though he could do almost anything for money. Boss Raph called with a new job. This time, it involved covering up a wealthy man's scandal. A girl was found unconscious, and Ray was asked to discreetly handle the situation. Raph instructed him to take her to a remote farm, but Ray didn't feel right about the method suggested. Instead, Ray decided to respectfully bury her nearby. Ray hadn't returned to the boxing gym in a long time, and when he did, the mood was heavy. He met the gym owner's son, who revealed that his father had passed away due to stress from a failed business deal involving an old man from the Chinese tea business. The gym owner's son knew who was responsible. Killian had asked his friend to hire someone to deal with the old man for 30 grand, but the plan had gone wrong, resulting in the loss of everything. After hearing the story, Ray decided to take action. He went to Killian's friend to ask why the job had been canceled without informing Killian. It turned out the man had lied and spent all the money. Ray, using a more direct approach, pressured him to return it, and eventually the man agreed. Next, Ray went to the second target, the old man who had scammed Killian's father. While the old man was enjoying a drink and watching TV, Ray calmly walked in and asked a few questions.
So, what was this business thing you had going with him?
I found out about this tea. Turns out it's not really that effective, so...
The old man denied knowing anything about the money, claiming it was tied up in a deal. Growing frustrated, Ray applied more pressure, prompting the old man to reveal the location of the money. Ray instructed him to gather it up and hand it over, then took the keys to the Porsche 911, leaving the old man behind, alone in the room. Ray returned to Raph's house and received a new assignment. This time, he was tasked with accompanying a young girl named Zoe. On the way, the two got along very well and even shared a room. During their conversations, Zoe asked Ray to massage her back. The two grew closer and their discussions became more open and friendly.
So, are you gonna make a move or?
The next morning, they continued on the road, with Zoe taking the wheel instead of Ray. As they chatted, a kangaroo suddenly crossed the road, causing Zoe to swerve. The car flipped several times. Ray was unharmed, but Zoe lost consciousness. Ray called Raph, urging him to turn back and help get Zoe to the hospital immediately. He opened the door and lowered the seat to make her more comfortable. A tourist van happened to pass by.
You okay?
Yeah, mate, yeah, fine.
Do you need a lift?
Ray politely declined, saying he had already called for assistance, hiding the fact that the car was carrying contraband. As Ray and the tourist driver were moving the injured kangaroo off the road, Zoe suddenly woke up and stepped out of the car. The woman from the tourist van quickly told her husband to bring the first aid kit. Just then, Raph arrived. Seeing strangers at the scene and fearing discovery, Raph pulled out a weapon and silenced both tourists. Ray was upset but focused on the urgent task. Raph quickly transferred the contraband from the wrecked car into his own. Zoe was placed gently into the back seat to be taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, Ray stayed behind to manage the situation. To avoid trouble with the authorities, he drove the tourist van to an isolated area, gave the victims a respectful burial, abandoned the van, and walked several kilometers back to the city. After buying a ruler from a store, he found a Toyota in a nearby alley and returned to Raph's headquarters. There, Ray learned that Zoe had not survived.
Zoe
Zoe didn't make it.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
So what'd you do with her?
Does it matter?
Ray was furious, suspecting what Raph had done to Zoe, but chose to walk away silently. On his way back, Ray stopped for a moment, overwhelmed by grief, and cried. Life on the criminal path had only brought him pain and loss. After a few days, Ray and Dave went to a remote area according to the location. Maybe it was a business meeting. Ray waited for a while and picked up the phone to call Freddie, but he didn't answer. Suddenly, Dave heard a strange sound in the sky and looked up. It turned out to be a drone following the two. A gunshot rang out, and Dave was hit in the shoulder. Both of them fell to the ground. They hid behind the car for a while, not knowing what was going on. A pickup truck was approaching from afar. Ray and Dave quickly got in the car and left. The pursuers aimed at the rear wheel of Ray's car, causing it to lose control and roll several times into a grass field. Ray got out to look for the gun in the trunk, but it had been thrown far away and was difficult to reach while the enemy was shooting nearby.
Go! Mate, you gotta keep moving!
And both of them slowly reached an abandoned house not far away. Ray took Dave inside and tore some cloth to stop the bleeding. Ray sighed and prepared for another attack from the enemy. It turned out that the enemy was Raphael, the boss who took Zoe away and caused her death. When ready, one of them entered the house but soon fell after being hit. Raph got into a car and tried to escape, but was badly wounded after Ray fired at the vehicle. Raph struggled to start the engine and drive away. Ray quickly grabbed the gun and fired several more rounds, stopping the pickup by the grass. Ray went to check and made sure Raph could no longer pose a threat. That night, Ray went to see Freddie because he realized that only Freddie knew his location that morning and must have leaked it to Raphael. When Freddie was about to go out to get some drinks,
Mate, I'm sorry. Now, if I didn't help set you up, he was going to kill me.
Ray admitted that he had trusted the wrong person and walked away. Scene change. Ray now lived a quiet life, almost like a homeless man, working as a taxi driver. One night, he picked up two strangers who asked to be taken to a remote place. When they arrived, they still didn't want to get out of the car, insisting that Ray drive a little further inside. Ray, sensing something unusual, decided to wait and see what they were planning.
Someone might die out here tonight. What do you reckon, Dill?
Maybe, eh?
Run.